welcome. I am Christy Cooper. I am the Director of Public Policy and Community Impact at the North Carolina Down Syndrome Alliance. And I'm so annoyed that those slides came through in a different format. They actually have a really nice design with our lucky few. I'll just show my tattoo instead. Symbols on there in blue and yellow. So I will have to send out the slides so you all can enjoy my design choices. But I'm very, very glad to be here today to talk about the Innovations Waiver because this is a piece of information that I think is critical to the Down syndrome community in North Carolina, but too many people don't know anything about this. So I'm so glad you joined us today, and I hope you'll share this information with everybody around you who could benefit from it. Um, Let me explain who we are first. The North Carolina Down Syndrome Collective is relatively new. We just began earlier this year in 2026. We are made up of Coastal Buds, which serves the Wilmington area, the Down Syndrome Association of Greater Charlotte, the Down Syndrome Association of Greater Winston-Salem, the Down Syndrome Network of Onslow and Carteret counties, and the North Carolina Down Syndrome Alliance. We've joined forces to offer you the best information and guest speakers from across the state on relevant topics to your family. Lunch and Learns are offered live on Zoom, but we are also recording this and we'll put this on our YouTube channel. So these are public, free. Again, please share with anybody who could benefit. And your organization, your closest local organization will also be sharing it, but you can also touch base with me. I'll put my email in the chat later so you can get to me easily if you have any trouble accessing the recording. Each quarter will feature a new topic and guest speakers. We will also be collecting feedback from you. Please email me. Like I said, I'll drop that in the chat just as soon as I'm done talking here to let me know if there are any topics or speakers that you would recommend for this series going forward. So please, this is just a little bit of housekeeping. Please stay muted during the session and use the chat for questions. We're going to close with a Q&A where I will read your questions to our speakers here. So thank you finally for joining us today. Like I said, I'm so excited to have you, but I'm also very excited to have our guest speakers today. We are going to close with Sam and Suzanne Henning, which some of you may already be familiar with them. Sam is a bit of a celebrity in the North Carolina and broader Down syndrome community. So I'm thrilled to have them here talking about what life looks like as a family in the Down syndrome community who is using the supports and services from the waiver. But before we talk to them, we're actually going to start off with our three guest speakers who are experts in this area to talk all about the Innovations Waiver, what it is, and how we are going to get it. So first off, Beth Field, MS, is the founder of the Leadership Alliance for Neurodevelopmental Disabilities. I know it's a mouthful, so we call it LAND, an advocacy coalition dedicated to improving the lives of individuals with developmental disabilities and their families. Through LAND, she helped launch the Disability Action Network, DAN NC, a statewide nonpartisan grassroots movement led by people with lived experience to advance policies that strengthen communities and expand opportunities for people with disabilities. Let me let in our three. We got three more people coming in. I love this. As the mother of an adult child with neurodevelopmental disabilities, Beth brings both lived experience and professional expertise to her advocacy. For more than 20 years, she has volunteered in family support and system change efforts that serve individuals with developmental disabilities and their families. In 2019, she co-founded LAND to address the needs of individuals and families across the lifespan, regardless of support needs, culture, or geographic region. In 2021, LAND received a 4-year grant from the North Carolina Council for Developmental Disabilities to serve as the backbone organization for Meet the Need NC, which some of you might be familiar with. It was a collective impact initiative focused on the North Carolina Medicaid Innovations Waiver waitlist. Beth has also served as family co-chair of the North Carolina Collaborative for Children, Youth, and Families. In 2017, she co-founded NCFASD Informed, a nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the lives of individuals and families affected by fetal alcohol spectrum disorders across North Carolina. I just saw that it did not admit everybody. We're going to try that again. Cheryl Powell is also with us. Cheryl, BSW, is the Associate Director for LAND Policy Education Center and founding organizer of DAN-NC. Cheryl is a disability rights advocate, policy educator, and coalition builder with over 2 decades of experience in IDD, intellectual and developmental disabilities. services, and systems reform across North Carolina. In her many roles, she works to amplify the voices of people with disabilities and their families in legislative and policy spaces. Cheryl holds a BSW and QIDP credential and serves as co-chair of the DD Consortium, I believe that's Developmental Disabilities Consortium, a board member of New Hanover County Special Education Parent Teacher Association and Independent Works, and a member of the DSP, or Direct Service Provider Workforce Group. Her work is rooted in the belief that those closest to the challenges must lead the solutions. And finally, Lynn Martin is mom to two sons, one of which has developmental disabilities, and she is also Mimi to a 4-year-old granddaughter. She has over 27 years of professional experience in the IDD and system of care arenas. She was a parent educator at ECAC, the Exceptional Children's Assistance Center, then worked for several providers before running her own IDD provider agency in Mooresville, North Carolina. Her focus and career moved to self-direction of waiver services, education, and then administration. Although she retired in 2025, she stays very busy as a member of the North Carolina State Consumer and Family Advisory Committee, appointed by North Carolina's Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Sangvi. She's on the leadership team of LAND and a founding member and leadership team member of DAN. She's a founding member of the North Carolina Self-Direction Coalition and sits on the DSP Workforce Workgroup. She's actively involved in advocacy roles and voter education and engagement across North Carolina, especially for people with disabilities and their families. I will turn it over to them.
Thank you so much, Christy. We're so excited to be here. And Lynn, who is the best at technology with our group, is showing our slides today. Again, we're very excited to be here. The Land Policy Education Center is leading a project called Disability Action Network, which is trying to use people with lived experience to be able to teach others how to advocate like us. So for people with lived experience by people with lived experience. And I'm joined today, if you want to go to the next slide, by these amazing advocates, Lynn being a family advocate along with me, Cheryl being a person with a developmental disability, and we call them self-advocates here in this forum. We are so excited to be here, and we're speaking to you from a parent perspective, our lived experience. What we found, along with our Meet the Need initiative and with LAND and with Disability Action Network, is that many times you get information from the department, or what we call the Department of Health and Human Services here in North Carolina, or other agencies, but it really helps to have that insider. This is what it really looks like from people who've been there, done that, and that's what we're bringing here today. So that's a bit of our disclaimer. We're coming to you from the perspective of what we have learned, and what we'd like to be able to impart with you today. Next slide, please.
If it'll let me. There you go.
Okay, great. The Dan, and we're going to give you information about this movement, which is a cross disability, cross age, level of need, and region, and including allies movement to come together to impact change. So we will have in these slides that we'll provide to you some links that you'll be able to learn how to join our mailing list, because we've got, for example, an exciting webinar that we've got going next Tuesday about the Olmstead decision, which you're going to hear about today, which creates the platform for the Innovations Waiver. Next slide, and I think this one is for you, Lynn, to why don't you give today's agenda and go on with speaking more specifically about what the Innovations Waiver is, et cetera.
I profusely apologize because I'm trying to share slides and talk at the same time. So if I mess up on the slides, please forgive me. Today's agenda, we're going to talk about the roots of the Innovations Waiver and how it came to be. What exactly is the Innovations Waiver? Where are we at now with the Innovations Waiver? And then talk about Innovations Waiver myths. There's a lot of myths out there and confusion. And then we're going to wrap it up with a question and answer session. So we first wanted to talk to you guys about the Olmstead decision. It's a decision, it's not an act. People often call it the Olmstead Act, but it was a decision. It was a Supreme Court decision that was Olmstead versus LC, and it was about unjustified segregation of people with disabilities in the form of unlawful discrimination under the Americans with Disability ADA. Olmstead it's part of it. It was a decision because of ADA. So the Supreme Court basically said that people with disabilities have the qualified right to receive state-funded supports and services in the community rather than in institutions. And they did a three-part test. The person's treatment professionals determine the community supports that are appropriate. The person does not object to living in the community, and the provision of services in the community would be reasonable accommodation when balanced with other similarly situated individuals with disabilities. The section right there, it talks about the person that's not objective to living in the community. That's a question on your person-centered plan when you have an Innovations Waiver plan. So every year, a person has to agree that they want to continue to live in the community. So as a result of Olmstead, we used to have back in the day community alternatives programs for people with disabilities, and then it morphed into HCBS, home and community-based services. And these are a set of optional waivers that are out there, but the Innovations Waiver being one of them. It offers long-term supports and services. It helps people live in their homes in the communities, provide support while promoting independence and integration. It aligns with the principles of Olmstead. If you read the Olmstead decision, you'll see that it totally aligns with that. The waiver allows people to be more independent, learn how to connect with people in their community. They do things like they go shopping, they're banking, they're going to the post office, they're doing their own tax, working with people to do their taxes. They're doing everything that anybody else does in the community that they are that they feel like they can do. It also, though, for people that have more severe disabilities and need other help, more help, it can manage eating, bathing, dressing. It can provide personal care services and hygiene and other daily activities. It also, one thing that I left off, it is community integration. It is job support. It is volunteering in your community. My son, for example, we just finished a shift yesterday that we do at least twice a month. We deliver Meals on Wheels, and so that is supported with his waiver. So what is the Innovations Waiver? The Innovations Waiver is a federally approved, it's called 1915C. I know all of this stuff is so confusing, but that is what it's based under. It's a Medicaid home and community-based services waiver. They're optional, and I need to help you understand what optional means. Everybody kind of thinks that Innovations Waiver, Cap C, Cap DA are all guaranteed. They're not. They're an optional service. They allow, and when I say optional, it means that they are not mandated, they're not written into law, they can go away. And that's why a lot of the stuff with Olmstead and the things that you're seeing right now come out is a bit scary to us that have been on the waiver and people that are sitting and waiting for years and years on this waiver wait list. So the waiver allows people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to get Medicaid funded services and supports in their home and community rather than in an institutional setting. It's funded through a combination of federal and state Medicaid dollars. So basically, when I say that, the federal sends down a certain percentage of money, and which is the majority of the percentage. I need you to hear that, the majority. And then the state has a match, and it's about 33%, somewhere in that. Don't quote me on that, but it's pretty close to that. And when they match, that then creates a waiver slot. Talked about that. So the federal government covers a significant percentage of the cost, known as the Federal Medical Assistance Percentage, or the FMAP. I know all these acronyms, guys. Then there's state appropriations. The North Carolina General Assembly approves specific legislative appropriations each year when they do a budget. It took them a while to get one this year. They usually tell you how many waiver slots they're going to add. This budget that was just recently approved did not add any waiver slots. The local management is funded, is distributed and administrated at the local management entities, and you often hear them called LME MCOs, local management entities, managed care organizations. The funds are explicitly tied to providing community services for individuals with intellectual or developmental disabilities who would otherwise require a level of care found in intermediate care facilities for people with intellectual disabilities, what we often hear called ICF IDDs. So what can the waiver provide? It can provide a service called community living and support, and that is a gamut. It is home-based services. It can be habilitative in nature, but it also, under community living supports, it can be personal care, hygiene, making sure you get something to eat, making sure their house is kept tidy and their area is kept tidy. Community networking is one that is generally used for volunteerism or for integration in the community. Say they want to be part of someone wants to be part of a club, they want to join the Civitans, or they want to be part of the Lions Club, or that kind of stuff. It helps to have a worker go with them to that, and also offer transportation. Community transition is for people that are living in more in things like group homes and things like that want to transition out into their own, like maybe apartment or something like that. It provides an amount of money that can be used to transition to do that. Provides crisis services. So if someone is in a mental health crisis or a health crisis of some kind, you can get crisis services through it. Day supports is a service that is offered for generally adults. There are a small amount of day supports for younger people, but they've kind of gone by the wayside in favor of the schools. Those programs are generally for people that want a meaningful day and want stuff to do, but maybe don't or aren't quite able to hold down jobs or do anything like that. So it gives them a place to go and congregate and have fun with their friends. Respite is a big one for us family members. We toe the line. We are all hours of the night. I have experienced that myself, and sleep deprivation. So it's really nice when you can bring that respite in, and you can get away and maybe go on a date night with your husband or your significant other, your partner, or just breathe, take a nap, whatever it needs to be.
That's the one that I'm really jealous that you have.
I'm getting ready to use that for my anniversary. I'm looking forward to it. Home modifications are for accessibility type issues that you might need, or mods in your home. You have to own the home. It cannot be done on rental property. But for example, we just put in an accessible shower for my son, and we're really excited that is the case. So that can offer that. Assistive technology is a lot of you guys know what assistive technology is. It's used in all different forms and formats, from very low tech to very high tech to picture exchange systems or whatever. It can offer that. Individual goods and services. I'm not going to get into that one too much. National Supports Education is basically for families. You can go to a workshop you can go to the Down Syndrome Congress, or you can go to the Autism Society or conference and that kind of stuff, and it'll pay for your admission. Residential supports is things like you might live in a group home, or you might live in what's called an alternative family living home, where you live with a different family. You don't live with the family that you grew up with, but so those are examples of residential supports. Specialized consultation services are things from speech, OT, PT, behavior support specialist, BCBA, not the BCBA that autism use, but BCBA to specifically write a behavior support plan. Supported living is another model that is out there. There's a supported living level 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 is for people that just need a little bit of help. They live on their own and they just need a little help. 2 is kind of intermediate, and 3 is closer to 24/7 support. They can still live in their own home and have staff work pretty much around the clock. Supported employment offers 2 arms. That is going and working a public job, if that is what the person so chooses to do. But they could also include what my son does. He has a micro enterprise. It's called Beach Bum Logan Designs, and he designs home decor and T-shirts and tie-dye and puts a lot of cool sayings on T-shirts and sells those to people. So a little micro enterprise. Vehicle modifications are for people that need modifications to their vehicle to get enter and exit their vehicle safely. And then there's also a self-direction option with the Innovations Waiver. So the self-direction option means that you don't use a provider agency. The employer of record is what it's called, manages the supports and services and basically does the job that provider agencies typically do. They do the hiring, the firing, the training, and that kind of stuff. It is an unpaid position, I will tell you that. But the benefit to self-direction is we're able, because we don't have provider overhead, to pay a much higher rate of pay for our direct support professionals. So it's a little easier at times. Still not been great in this environment, this hiring environment, but better. We're able to hire people. For example, for community living supports, I pay $26 an hour for my staff. So that's a living wage.
And a lot of people don't know about that option. So I think what's nice is that, I mean, I don't know where everyone is, their parents with their kids right now, but the list that Lynn has gone over so very carefully and given you some examples, from her lived experience. These are some of the things that your child may need. Right now, it might be hard to think about that if you've got a younger child in elementary school. But at some point, we're going to try to educate you on the value of preparing now so that if you need those, and you may very well need a bunch of these, you'll be ready. Go ahead, Lynn.
So North Carolina Medicaid Innovations has a waiver eligibility. You must meet requirements, and that's written in clinical coverage policy. Y'all write this down. Clinical coverage policy 8P is what is, you have the waiver itself. You can read it. It's very long and it's hard to interpret. So the best option for you is to read 8P. It's still very long, but it does explain things in more layman's terms. And it tells you what a level care of the institutional level of care is. You have to be at risk. The person has to be considered at risk of being placed in an ICF-IDD. Now, we often think as parents, well, my child's not at risk. No, there's no chance in the world I'm going to let them go anywhere. Well, things happen, guys. Things happen. So yes, every person that resides on the IDD spectrum of some sort is at risk of being in an ICF-ID. So when they ask you, oh, is your child at risk? You got to be careful not say no, because they're going to ask you that. So are they able to safely stay in the community, be healthy in the community without you? Think about without your constant support as a parent, because we're the constant in their life. You need to use at least one North Carolina Innovations Waiver services listed in your person-centered plan per month to remain on the waiver, or you will lose your waiver. The person chooses North Carolina Innovations Waiver services instead of living in an ICF-IDD. So how do you apply for the waiver? Families contact their local MCO, their managed care organization. They tell them that they want to apply. And when you get this PowerPoint, you will receive this. It has links for you to go exactly to the page that basically tells you everything for each MCO. There are 4 right now in the state. Alliance Health, that serves basically Mecklenburg County and a big part around Wake County and the surrounding area. Partners kind of help is the Central Piedmont. Via Health is more the mountains and a little bit down east. And Trillium Health Resources is the biggest one at this point, and it serves really down east, east of Raleigh and south of Raleigh. There's also, if you don't know that, Via and Partners plan to merge on October 1st, 2026, and their new name is going to be Via Partners, and they will be serving 46 counties when they, so they still won't be the largest. Trillium is the largest at 47 counties. So this is the current LME MCO catchment map. So if you live in one of these counties, you can tell where you reside or which LME MCO you will be with. When the merger goes through, this will be the map. So the map is everything in purple is Trillium, everything in green. Everything in green is Alliance, and everything else is Via Partners. So we will be down to 3 LME MCOs October 1st of 2026. So why should you apply for the Innovations Waiver now? Slot awards are managed by length of time on the wait list. That has not always been the case. We are one of the lucky ones. My family was very extremely lucky that back when my son got the waiver, it was based off of both. It was based off of length of time on the wait list, and also they took needs. So if you had a very high need at that point, you were in your developmental years, it was really important to get that habilitative services. You kind of got slid into a slot faster. That resulted, of course, in some people having to wait longer that didn't have as high needs. So then they went to length of time on the wait list. That is being looked at now because that has not worked either. We have over 20,000 people waiting on the Innovations Waiver. So that has not been exactly very effective. So wait times are varying anywhere between 5 to 10 years. Now, you'll look at this dashboard we're going to show you in a minute, and it'll say that it's 2 or 3 years. That's not really accurate. You may feel like you don't need it, that you don't need a waiver now, but it is most likely than not that you will need it at some point in the future. So I've worked in my professional career, and I get a call from a family member, and they go, "My kid's graduating high school. They're falling off the face of the earth. What now?" I said, "Did you apply for the waiver?" And they're like, "No, I didn't think we needed it." Mistake. There is only one thing in life that is constant, and that is change. So it is important that you prep. If you don't end up using it, that's fine, but be there so that you can use it. Up until the age of 21, children that are already Medicaid eligible get something called EPSDT, early periodic screening and diagnostic testing. It pays for a lot of things, and people don't know it. It's just kind of in the background. And then there's also the children's waiver services. A lot of children get that until they're 21. They get Cap C if they're medically fragile. So loss of those type of services, then it's like, oh my gosh, what now? The loss of a natural support system. Life happens. Sometimes that happens, and we have to be prepared for that. And support to live in their community independently when we're gone. Innovations Waiver, the numbers. So where are we? 1 in 6 people in the U.S. have an intellectual or developmental disability. That's a lot, right? Current number of people on the Innovations Waiver late list is 20,893. Current number of people who have a Innovations Waiver slot is around 14,000. There were as I said earlier, there were no new waiver slots approved for 2026. Hopefully they will revisit that. It's my hope and dream that they will revisit that, but not at this point, but with the budget issues. So this is the, and I put the links on.
I'm going to jump in. I'm going to jump in.
Sure, go right ahead.
So you can take a breather. So you can take a breather. That's all right. That's all right. I just wanted to, because you're going to go for Q&A. So this is important because when we were doing these innovation waivers presentations along with our pathway a year or so ago, this dashboard that's published by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services was not available in this form. And as Lynn has said, and we will all say as parents, this is better than it was, but this is not where it totally needs to be. And you'll see some information that we take take issue with, but I'll go through that with them. But I thought that what we would do is just show you a couple screens. We'll give you the link to this, so that you can go and see, because it's important for you to know, okay, here, basically who's on the waiting list right now, a little bit more about the counties that you're in. But just look, if you go on this Innovations Waiver waiting list dashboard, you'll see the number of people who are on the wait list, and that's an old number because that's as of the end of the year. It shows the kind of the distribution, the gender, etc. But if you go to the next slide, this suggests that the average time in the wait list is only 5.79. We can tell you that we have some very good friends who are on this list who've been there for over 15 to 20 years. So if you're in one of the counties that has a larger wait list, you're going to be waiting a lot longer than other counties that have a smaller one. So this gives you that basic information. Take it as you will. The next slide. This also mentions the people who are being served. One of the links that we're going to give you is about 1915I services. And so a lot of the LME-MCOs are trying to let people be aware of 1959, which is an entitlement, which we're going to talk about a little bit more, and that includes some of those services that you're seeing here. Next slide, please. Oh, did you take out the one about the county? I'm sorry. Just go back once, and then just go back one. There is and I can't see it. Maybe it's included here, but importantly on this dashboard, there's a page where you can go and you can find out what the waiting list is like in your county.
Right
so
here.
Maybe, oh, that one. Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I thought it was there. I thought you would get rid of it. This is the one that you're going to really want to go and see. So, for example, I used to be in Wake County with my daughter who's on the wait list. There's over 3,000 people on that list. I moved to New Hanover County, which now the wait list is between 300 and 400 people. So that's a whole lot different. I'm now was with Lance, now with Trillium. So when we, and we'll talk about this in a minute, when you move from county to county in North Carolina, you're going to have that same space that you had in the county that you applied, and that just moves over too. So you're not going to start at the bottom of the waiting list if you were to move. And that's important. And then also someone asked, what if you come from outside of North Carolina and you have a waiver, one of the Home and Community Services waiver in another state, and you come here to North Carolina, guess what? You're going to have to go to the back of the line. And a lot of people call us, and this happens, I know, with Christy too as well, and with Lynn, I know when she was at ACAC, people call and they say, okay, I have all these services in another state and I'm going to move. What can you give me here? And think about how hard it is to tell that individual that you're going to have to go to the back of the line. And many of our lists are very long. Next slide, and I think this one is for, is this one for Cheryl? This is for Cheryl. She's going to start talking to you about the barriers, and she knows very well for herself and people who she knows who have disabilities and those barriers to services, even if you get a waiver. And then she's going to tell you about some tips and strategies while you wait, because we know that everyone here is going to go apply for the waiver and get on that wait list. Well, she will tell you a little bit more about those things, that those services and supports you can look forward to when you're on that list. Go for it, Cheryl.
Thank you, Beth. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, great. Okay. So let's talk about the barriers that we face. One of the biggest ones is the direct support professionals, or DSP, workforce shortage. It directly impacts the waiver. and 1915 as well. And because of that, we have to include the need of an increased pool of direct support professionals in our community living discussions. We always have to talk about this. So direct support professionals are the ones that are by an individual's side each day and helping them with whatever supports they need. Unfortunately, it's likely to be you acting as the DSP these days as the parent because there's not enough of them to go around. That dramatically affects the services.
And
Um,
Cheryl, you've been a DSP before, so you know firsthand.
yes, yes. The pay for the work that you do is not even close to what it should be. And you have to think that this work is being a DSP is not a simple job. I mean, it's a very skilled profession, but it's not recognized as such. And so it's going to be easier for somebody to go work at Walmart or even, a fast food restaurant than to work with our folks because it's just easier work and it's more pay sometimes. So it's more likely than not that adds to it. So we've been really pushing to get better pay and benefits, all those things for our DSPs. Okay. Thank you. So let's talk about some tips and strategies for while you're on this wait list, okay? Educate and inform others. Best thing to do, spread the word that you need to be on this wait list, okay? Um, ensure that your whole family understands you or your family member's diagnosis and where they can go learn more. And we're going to be sharing that information. Help them to understand the importance of understanding multiple diagnoses, including mental health ones. Sometimes we have co-occurring issues, and that's not unheard of at all. Share information that helps family caregivers understand more about what services and supports are available. What I've found is that you're not gonna sit down with your case manager and just be told, "Here's everything you can get." They very much lean on you as the family member to go find out what you can get and come back to them. That's just what I've found. And what we hear a lot. Educate others on having community-based services and how they can help people live in the community or home. Um, from a, a person with disability, I'll just say that if it all possible, if it's not the desire for the person to be in congregate care of some kind, is so important that they have the opportunity to live in the community, and that's what this waiver is about, making sure you get that, to very strongly support community living. Is
You want me to do this
there
one, Cheryl? So
Yeah,
you need
that'd
to
be great.
determine your eligibility for other services while you wait. Apply for Medicaid if you haven't already done so. Medicaid is income based, earned and unearned income. So when I talk about earned income, that's money you get from a job. Unearned income is income like you get from SSI payments, TANF, which is like temporary need to families. Um, you're also going to want to apply for SSI. That is income based as well, of earned and earned income. So many families, I will tell you, if you're two person family that has two earners in the family, both mom and dad work, it's likely you will not qualify. My son did not qualify for anything until he was 18. But if you're not, please check into it. There's a possibility that you can. Medicaid has been expanded. Our state finally expanded a few years back, so that threshold raised a little bit. So it's a little bit better than it used to be back when my son came through. Learn about getting home and community-based services through the 1915I waiver. and apply to determine if you're eligible. The only way you can get services through the 1915I waiver is you have to be Medicaid eligible. So if you're one of those families that falls in the donut hole, one of the persons that your mom and dad makes too much money, then you're not going to qualify for a 1915I. But it does take some sting for out of the people that are lower income earners.
But and want to say about Medicaid. Many of you may have private insurance, and your kid's not 18 yet, and so for income, you're not eligible for Medicaid. You need to start thinking as your kid starts to get 18. You need to start thinking about applying for him or her, or them applying. It's very important that that's one of your checkpoints, because that means you could be eligible for 1959, which includes respite. It's kind of like a mini version of the Innovations Waiver. It's got some good things there, but keep in mind that 18-year-old, especially if you're on private insurance.
Right. And when you do have the private insurance, so if you do become Medicaid eligible, so another really great program that's out there in North Carolina that still has not gone away, shocks me, for years and years. We've had it for about maybe 10 years now, is you continue to you're eligible for Medicaid at 18, you put them on Medicaid, but you also continue to carry them on your private health insurance. Then Medicaid will pay your private health insurance premium, the North Carolina Health Insurance Premium Payment Program. So they pay your insurance because it saves Medicaid money, because your insurance is billed primary and Medicaid is billed secondary for all procedures. So Medicaid is saving money, so they save enough that they pay and they pay our family plan. They don't pay just for Logan, they pay for our family plan. So that's another thing that we can send some information on, Christy. A lot of people don't know about it. You want to do this one, Cheryl? You want me to keep going?
You keep going,
okay.
since it's talking about eligibility.
Sure. So apply for Social Security disability benefits, check out the Social Security income program, Social Security disability insurance programs, SSDI. That's all on the Social Security website. You can apply online. Or if you struggle, I would love to tell you that you can go sit down in a Social Security office and apply like you used to back in the day and have somebody help you. That's not the case as much anymore. You can usually get somebody on the phone to work with you. For children, learn if you're eligible for CAP-C. That's the Community Alternatives Program for children with, and it's usually people that have high medical needs. If you're 18 or more, learn if you're eligible for CAP disabled adult. That's a Community Alternatives Program for disabled adults. That's another waiver that many people are on while they're waiting to get the Innovations Waiver after they've turned 18. It's not as robust as the Innovation Waiver, but it does provide that personal care and respite type services. See if you're eligible for employment services at Employment Independence for People with Disabilities, EIPD. It's previously known as vocational rehab. See if the person is eligible for that to help. They can give supports and job coaching and help a person find a job. Somebody want to take this one? You want to take this one, Cheryl, about the MCOs?
Yes, I can take this one. Lynn just knows so much more than I do about certain things. I let her take them. So stay in touch and be present and relevant to those in charge of administrative supports and services. In other words, stay on them. And I don't mean that in an ugly way. I mean, if you don't call like every 6 months, once a year, you could easily get lost in the shuffle. The other thing is you want to always keep your records up to date. Keep a file. Keep it on your computer, on your phone. There's so many ways you can make sure you have your files these days. Hold on to those. They're
So
always
Cheryl, I'll give
things.
a funny story to that. You said keep bugging them.
Yes.
So I'm the squeaky wheel. So I was that parent when Logan was 6 and I worried him to death. I showed up at every meeting they had, every community collaborative they had. I called them every day. I need a waiver slot. I need a waiver slot. I need a waiver slot. I drove them crazy. So sometimes, the old saying, squeaky wheel gets the grease. It does help keep you relevant, keep your name out there. They know who you are so that you're just not a number. So stay on top of them. I agree with that, Cheryl.
And many times
Absolutely.
you may get different answers from different people. We're just going to tell you what our experience has been and what we hear from other people. And so many times you apply to and you're denied. Just being able to just don't, when you get an answer that doesn't feel quite right or that you want to fight, go back. We're telling you that these women here have been strong advocates over time, and we've seen what advocacy can do to get what you need. Go for it, Cheryl.
The other thing, just regarding that I'll mention is every time you get a letter regarding your services, you see where you have X amount of time to appeal. Pay attention to that. Use that. If you get denied for a service, appeal. They assume you're not going to, so don't just give up on that. Make sure you keep up with it and hey, keep appealing. Um, so look for support while you wait. And as I mentioned earlier, keep those records up to date. What happens is they'll call you up and say, hey, your slot's up, and then they'll ask you for all these records and be like, well, that was, X number of years ago. I don't know where that's at. So that's what I mean by that. You want to maintain those records as best you can. Okay. You can find community based resources from the North Carolina Family and Youth Organizations, Agencies, Resource Directory. Consider decisions and other things to plan for you or your family member's future. It's never too early to start putting things in place. And I know it feels like when they're young and they're your little kids, like, we got plenty of time. The way the system moves, it behooves you to go ahead and get started. Believe it or not, it really does. So I want to encourage that.
Yeah. One other thing there, Cheryl, is
Mm-hmm.
I was talking earlier about change, and change happens, and sometimes tragedy happens. So if you're planning for this stuff while your child's young, things are in place. I often worked with families that a father would pass away unexpectedly, and they had not made plans in setting up an ABLE account or a special needs trust and that kind of stuff. The kid inherits money, and then all of a sudden they're not eligible for Medicaid anymore. So all of that stuff is really important, even at a young age, to really start looking into all of that. And then as your child is aging, when they get to 18, you're often told you got to get guardianship. You got to get guardianship. That's not the case. I do not have guardianship of my son. He has autism. He has nonverbal autism, but we have power of attorneys in place, and we have a special needs trust in place, and we use supported decision making, meaning that he helps us make the decisions about his life, and we talk about it. And then as his POA, then I can help him make those decisions. But we did not do guardianship. That doesn't mean that's not right for you. It didn't feel right for us. So explore all those different things.
And it looks like we have one more slide before we were going to go to myths, but I'm thinking, Christy, that instead of going to our myths, we should probably go to Suzanne and your other guests.
That would be great just for time's sake. And just know
Yes.
that I do think we might go over. And what I'll do in case anybody has to leave before we're done answering the questions in the Q&A, because we did not require registration, I can't email you the answers to your questions. However, I can post those in with like a post lunch and learn post essentially that will go up on socials, and can share that through the other organizations as well to make sure that you get answers if you do have to pop off at one. I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne and Sam. These are friends of mine who are going to share a little bit about how the Innovations Waiver has supported Sam in having the life that he chooses. And Lynn, as they come off of mute, are you able to share those photos that are in the second half of my slides that I sent you, since my computer's being a problem?
Let me see. Yes.
Okay.
I think I can do it. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay. Is that it?
Yes, that's
Hey,
it.
beautiful picture.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Well, we're Suzanne Henning and our son Sam Henning. Turn around and see.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We were thrilled to be asked to contribute to today's Zoom call, and I been listening to Lynn and Elizabeth and Cheryl, and I could not agree with them more about everything and about getting on the waiver early, even if you can't imagine ever needing it. And they have listed all kinds of reasons why. So our story was our pastor was bivocational, and when Sam was maybe around 12 or 13, he said, "You've got to get on this waiver." It had a different name at the time, and I didn't understand what it was. He says, "You have to get on the waiting list for the waiver." He says, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to be, dependent on the government, and Sam's always going to be with us." And he says, "You've got to get on the waiver. You will, you don't know what lies down the road, and it will offer Sam so many benefits." So when Sam was about 14, it was not easy. I was not plugged into anything. What are you doing, Sam? Kleenex. He came prepared. But anyway, I was getting some emails. I wasn't plugged in anything because Sam was in school. When they're in school, then all you deal with is the ISPs. I, whatever, I forgot the name. But anyway, so let's see. It was not easy. I had to like make phone calls. I had to find out. I think I remember like being on some sort of a panel, and answering questions about Sam. I did not enjoy any of that, but it was so worth it. So anyway, right when Sam was finishing UNC Greensboro in their Beyond Academics program, we got word that he'd been approved, and I had totally forgotten about it. It was 10 years that we were on that waiting list, and we went in Nash County. That's where we were living at the time, and so anyway, it has opened up all kinds of doors. It helped with a one-time grant for Sam to live into an apartment, and
Well, I had to agree with my mom on that one.
yep. And so I don't mean to be doing it, but and then Sam has a support person 12 hours a week, and you
Well, I have two supports. One of them where my mom is coming from. I had to agree with that 100%. Plus, my mom is actually my support too.
It's been covered. It's very, very hard to find support people. So we've been very successful with trying to get like NC State graduates, but then not graduates while they're in school, but then they graduate. So I have stepped in as kind of a from time to time support person for Sam, but that's been covered, that it is oftentimes hard to find the workers, but at least Sam does qualify for the workers for the direct support people. So I'm just saying, and I think it was Cheryl that said it would behoove you to apply for the waiver, and I'm going to use that word too. It would do it now. And then years may go on. Unfortunately, years may go on, but I believe that he's having an incredible life, one where he's making so many decisions, and he's having a great life.
And Sam, about that great life, can you tell us who's in this photo and like what we're looking at right here?
Yeah, so this is one of my second wedding, and I got married to Sophie.
That's his beautiful wife over there, Sophie. You both work at 321 Coffee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of love.
Uh-huh.
And Sam and Suzanne, can you tell us a little bit about like Sam, what are some of the things that you and Sophie enjoy doing on your own in a day, and what do you need a little bit of support with that the Innovations Waiver helps with?
How do I use that?
Well,
I don't know how I can answer that.
okay. Well, you enjoy working, and then you and Sophie are together, y'all cook together and
Well, yeah,
uh,
and that's one of the other sides that we love to cook. We
Yep.
do music and stuff, but we we also work for a local coffee shop. So what my mom and I are actually in is actually the coffee shop that I met my wife, Sophie. So it was the farmer's market when I met.
we just feel very deeply about all this.
I love
Yeah.
I know, I love it. And Lynn, if you skip ahead, you'll see some of the other photos of their wedding, but also as Sam was talking about, Sam and Sophie, there's Sam at work. And he talked about cooking with Sophie. There's some photos of the two of them in the
Yeah.
kitchen as well. And Sam and Sophie both like to cook together, right? You were encouraging me to do more cooking with my husband the last time we talked.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Right. It also pays for some transportation. If you have that written into your grant, and as we all know, transportation is a big barrier for our students. And so, that has, helped a lot with Sam being able to get to things in the community. He also uses the Go Raleigh access transportation, taxi transportation, but there are also some Uber credits that he gets. They attend church together every Sunday, take the Uber to that. They go to Gigi's Playhouse sometimes for their classes when they're not working. And so we're very, very thankful about that.
Yeah. I have one last question before we go to our Q&A for the two of you, but this is for Suzanne and Sam. If anybody who's on this call or watching this recording is debating whether to get their child or loved one on the waiver wait list, what would you want them to know from your experience?
Uh, do it like today. You can review this whole Zoom call to find out more about the steps on it. Um, don't don't think about how long the wait list. Just go ahead and do it, even if it's uncomfortable or you're having to, look up different records or something like that. It's Sam he has a very good life, and the Innovations Waiver is just really helping to support him in some ways to in this the ways that's really helping him to have a good life. So, okay. And what would
Yep.
you say, Sam?
No, what about that? I agree with you on every single word.
Well, Suzanne and Sam, thank you so much. It's so good to hear like what this really looks like, in real life from you and from our other presenters so we get a real picture. Because I'll tell you, as a parent of a 9-year-old with Down syndrome, as I started looking into this, I could not picture exactly what this did for him. And it's hard to prioritize doing the work to get him on the waiver wait list if you're not really sure what you're actually going to get out of it. So thank you so much. And we do have a handful of excellent questions in here for all of you. So I think a lot of these are going to be Beth, Cheryl, and Lynn. I'm scrolling to the top here. I'm going to bounce around a little bit here just so you all know. Can if a family has another ID category, or it says, can you share if a family has to have an ID category, or do other categories count towards this waiver? In other words, can you just give us a picture of who we're talking about who's probably eligible for the waiver or how you figure that out?
Why don't you do that one, Lynn?
Well, I don't want to the question honestly is a little bit difficult because I don't know what if you're talking about they're just medically fragile. It wouldn't automatically be that they get a waiver. If you're talking about they have cerebral palsy, they wouldn't automatically get a waiver, right, Cheryl? It wouldn't be an automatic thing. It's based on some need to. An IDD diagnosis is very broad. That's Down syndrome. That is some cerebral palsy. That's a traumatic brain injury that happens before the age of 20. There's autism spectrum disorder, neurodevelopmental disorders. So it's pretty broad. So it's a little hard, Christy, to answer that question. I would love to answer it if the person would like to eventually tell you like what diagnoses they're talking about, and then I'd probably be able to say no, that wouldn't qualify. Yes, or whether it wouldn't.
And I think that part of it, part of what people don't understand, it's not necessarily that diagnosis, but it's that functional assessment. And there's other, many times, you'll come with a neuropsych evaluation, and you just want to make sure that you also have some of those assessments that really speak to the function of your child. And of course, your child at 8 is going to be different than your child at 25. But you can't, the important thing is to know there's not like one diagnosis that's going to be able to lead you to get that innovations waiver on the waiting list, and which will lead to a slot.
If you are moving from another state Medicaid program and apply for the wait list, do you need to relinquish the existing state Medicaid? That would leave the person with no services for 20 years.
So Medicaid is state to state. So if you move out of a state, you do lose your Medicaid for that state. Medicaid and Innovations Waivers are two different things. That person may move here and they're already 18, so their family's assets or their family's income does not apply. It's only their income, so they likely would qualify for Medicaid while they're on the waiver wait list, which then would also possibly qualify them for 1915I services. So it depends. If they move from out of state and it's a child, depending on the diagnoses, there is Cap C that we talked about, and that wait list is a lot shorter. But that is a very specific set of criteria, and it's generally someone that relies on types of medical equipment, like tubes and trachs and feeding tubes and things like that. That's a bigger part of it. So it just depends. So yes, you would lose it in that state when you move it. I never have understood that it's a federal program, but it doesn't travel with you. It's very interesting. I mean, even as simply when you're on the Innovations Waiver, if we travel out of state, there's certain services we can't use while we're out of state. We can only use a certain set of services. So it is state specific.
And and the other thing about actually both about Medicaid and also about the Innovations Waiver, these are not arduous things to apply for. With Medicaid, it's really very quick. You can do it online, and so that lapse in coverage can be mitigated a bit at least.
Do you have to have Medicaid to get a spot on the waiver? I'm guessing maybe the waiver wait list.
If it's the waiver wait list, the answer is no. If it's the waiver, you will, that's what a waiver is called. You could literally, at 6 years old, my son, when he got the waiver, would have not gotten Medicaid on his own based off of mine and his father's income. So it waived our income. Once you get offered a waiver, then it's not income based anymore. But while you're on the wait list, you can be on the wait list and not have Medicaid.
And we have a question. Yeah, we have a question that I think even I can answer. And it's a reminder, Ashley, of a to-do item on my list. I'm 99% sure my son is on the list, but who can I reach out to make sure I'm in Wake County? I am also in Wake County. And I believe you need to contact Alliance, our LME MCO, to make sure. And I try to do that. I actually have a reminder to do that when my son has a birthday so that I'm touching base with them on an annual basis. And he just turned 9, so I need to do that. Is that correct, Lynn?
Yes. For Wake County, it is Alliance. And in the PowerPoint, when you receive it, there's links to get to exactly to the page that helps you find the numbers and all that fun stuff for each LME MCO.
And the other thing you want to do is when you call to make sure you're still on the list or your child's still on the list, ask what year they're working on, because they won't be able to tell you exactly where you on the list or when you could possibly be off the list. but they can tell you what year you're on. So, for example, when I was in Wake County, they were working on 2008. This was a couple of years ago, and my daughter had applied when it was 2017. So, things to just little tips to know.
And how long is the wait list for CAP DA?
I am honestly not sure right now. I could take that back and find out. Funding has been a little crazy lately, so I would hate to speak out of turn and say, "Oh, it's pretty easy to get on." So it has typically not been as hard as it is to get on this waiver.
Mm.
And we have someone who works on with Dan who works with CAP C. She's with she heads up medically fragile kids, and we include that link within the resources that we have to provide you. So I would ask that's a good place, as Lynn is saying, she can talk about CAP C and CAP DA. I don't think CAP C has a waiting list, but CAP DA does. I just don't know how many.
This is an excellent question that Sophia shared an answer to, but I also wanted to run it past y'all in case there's anything else you wanted to say about it. But Jessica says, my son is only 1, and when I looked into applying for the waiver, it said I needed an evaluation with IQ and adaptive scores. How can I apply if I don't have this yet? Jessica, you're not alone. I hear this more than perhaps anything else about the waiver, so I'm so glad you asked.
So, as part of early intervention, Jessica, you should be able to get that done. I know he's only 1, but there are adaptive scores for a 1-year-old to see if they're keeping up with their developmental peers. So just keep and make sure that you have gotten a full assessment by the time they leave early intervention at 3, because then you go into the school system and then you're looking at psychoeducational evaluations that often are not fully what is needed to get an innovations waiver. But I've secured all of those evaluations through early intervention before my son came out of being 3.
Yeah. If you are not here in the state yet, this is another question I see, but we get this sometimes. If you're planning to move to North Carolina, can you get somebody onto the NC waitlist before you move? My understanding is you cannot. Is that right? You have to be residing in North Carolina to get on the waitlist?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to have an address in North Carolina.
Yeah. Okay.
So even though you think you might move, that's not a reason to not try to get on the waiting list right now. Who knows what your plans can change, and also you might be able to have an address here that maintains maybe you moving back again. So just it's not all cut and dry. There's ways around this.
So there's a few specific questions that I won't get into all of them, but I want to turn it into like one overarching question. If you have an individual situation, like you're not sure you have the right documents to be able to submit, or you have an unusual circumstance and you're having a hard time getting like what you need from your LME MCO, who do you all recommend kind of going through to get answers to these specific questions or some help getting through the process? The organization that's top of mind for me is ECAC, the Exceptional Children's Assistance Center. If your loved one is under 26, I know that they have parent educators who will hop on the phone with you in English or Spanish and answer questions about this. But is there anybody else you wanted to talk to about that so folks know who to contact?
The Family Support Network is out there. They generally are helpful. They're still out. The ARC is another one that can help you with those questions. And we hope that Land soon is that person that you'll feel like you can go to. But those are some of the ones that I would do. But Family Support Network is a good one.
Lynn, would you include the ombudsman in that?
Yeah, you can always call the ombudsman. We have an ombudsman in North Carolina. It recently was taken away from the people that was contracted with and moved back with NDHHS. So sometimes I'm gonna be point blank and honest, Cheryl, they don't understand IDD like they do mental health. So you can certainly try it. I've never been really successful with the ombudsman when I call them for IDD. I tend to stick to the organizations that are more IDD focused.
I have one last question. If I didn't get to yours, please email me. My email is in the chat a couple times, but Christy, Christy, at ncdsalliance.org. And I'm happy to track down answers with any of our folks here. We're also going to share the slides, so hopefully that's helpful. That has links in it, as Lynn said. But I also want to know this too. We had a question at the beginning here about how are you supposed to get those respite services? Respite is very appealing to many of us. Is it your LME MCO contact that you should be contacting about that specific service?
So often, LME MCOs work with private providers and they use discretionary funds to, I'm not saying that's always the fact. Please don't go back to Trillium and say, hey, they said I can get respite. No, I'm not saying that. But often LME MCOs work with um, and use some discretionary funds to provide a set amount of respite. So once in a while, you can get it through a grant process. Often, a lot of your organizations that are out there do respite grants. I don't know of any right now, Beth. That's something we could certainly research. I think that would be important to bring back to this group. Because community foundations sometimes do respite grants. There's been a variety over the years. I know when my son was waiting that we were able to get some of those grants early on. So I'd love to for us to look into that, Beth, for them.
I think that's great. And I think what we're trying to say is you really have to be creative about trying to get the system, navigating the system to try to get what you need and being able to know other people like Christy with your organization and other parents. That word of mouth is so important. But we have been very pleased to be able to spend time with you today, and that we got the slides for you, and we'll be, of course, open to questions, and just really encourage you all to take a look at this Innovations Waiver, applying for it as something just to check off your list. Learn from those people from experience who've known all kinds of other people as well. Check it off your list because it's another way too, if you can't get Medicaid until their child is 18, it's another way for that LME MCO to know you and have to talk to you and become part of yet another system. That I think is a piece that a lot of people don't talk about. But my daughter has had Medicare with her SSDI for years. She's in a loop. She's in a donut hole where she can't get um, Medicaid. But the LME MCO still has to talk to me and service me, and I still am able to get information from them. So another reason to join, and another reason to take that 0.5% of people with Down syndrome who are on the Innovations Waiver list to 1% or more, right, Christy?
Yeah, let me underscore what Beth just said. Half a percentage of North Carolinians with Down syndrome sit on the waiver wait list today. Less than a percent. And we need to up that number because we know that's not accurate. There are about 16 to 18,000 people in this state who have Down syndrome, and these supports are critical, especially when our loved ones are becoming independent or when we're no longer here. So yes, thank you, Beth. That is why we are doing this. So please share this far and wide. But also, I'm so glad that you all are here, and I would love to hear from you. So if you have any comments on this, please let me know. Like, send some feedback. If your questions didn't get answered, reach out to me. Or if you have new questions, reach out to me, and I'll get you connected. And Beth and Lynn, Cheryl, Suzanne, Sam, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. I think this information is just vital to our community. And just a plug for our next Lunch and Learn, it's going to be on October 28th as we close out Down Syndrome Awareness Month from 12 to 1. And that one is going to be on inclusive post-secondary education. So if that's something of interest to you, please come join us for that or send your friends our way. Otherwise, we will share these slides with you afterwards, we'll be able to share these like with anybody who needs them. So again, because we did not have registration, I can't email them to you directly. But if you want me to make sure that I get them to you, then please email me and I will send them directly to you, and we'll make this information available because everybody needs it. So thank you all so much. I really, really appreciate everybody coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go advocates. Be well, and we're here with you.
Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.